Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to the Plant Spot. So today I am featuring a Philodendron Goeldii, specifically because she's super easy to grow. So if you like this type of content, stick around. In the intro, today we're going to talk about the Philodendron Goeldii. Now, this is another one of those plants that I don't typically see featured a lot, and I don't know why, because it's actually popular here in the States. You can find it starting around 19 bucks up to 100, which is what I've seen, I guess, for a mature plant. And it's available at most of my favorite shops. So if you like this plant, you should check it out. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about the care for this plant. As far as the lighting is concerned, this plant actually lives in this room on that shelf, kind of under this grow light. Now, the one thing I want to say about this plant is that it's easygoing. So this plant has been in several positions in my home, and it seems to appreciate the bright and direct light. These grow lights, while they are bright, they're not direct, and she's sitting directly under it, but the grow light has quite a bit of distance from the top of her leaves. So if you're placing her in your home, find a spot that doesn't have direct sun because her leaves will scorch. However, she would appreciate that bright and direct light. As far as watering, so this one I typically water every 7 to 10 days. She's in a super chunky mix, and she got water today, which is pretty well draining. And you can see the root system here. I probably should have repotted this during the spring, but I didn't because she had actually just been placed into this container. So I've had this plant, I want to say, since April of 2023. And for me, she started out slow. And I think that was because she was still trying to acclimate to my conditions. You would say, you know, wow, a whole year and this is all you have. Well, she did lose some of her original leaves, her immature leaves, which we'll put a picture down below so you can see. But the rate of growth for this one, since she's been in that location, has been a little bit faster. And for me, faster necessarily isn't better because I have a whole lot of plants. So I just appreciate the fact that she is growing. So we touched on the soil a little bit. It's my understanding that they prefer something that's a little bit acidic, and to create that type of environment, you could add some sphagnum moss, but this plant is actually planted in cocoa peat, the cocoa chunks, perlite. She has some worm castings. I don't have any perlite and any, what is that called? Sphagnum moss in here. It is just a simple, very simple soil mix. And I think they appreciate that. As with all philodendrons, they tend to be a little bit prone to root rot. So you do want to make sure that you have her in something that is well draining so that she's not waterlogged. Let's see. They're native to the biodomes. So South America, you know, like Brazil, Ecuador, Peru, those type of regions. And I say that to say, you know, when we hear biodome, immediately we think, you know, high humidity. Now, while this plant would appreciate well, I wouldn't say high humidity, but some humidity, I have found in my experience that she doesn't really necessarily need that, you know, 90% humidity levels. This plant has never lived in the plant room where the humidity is a little higher. She's always been in this room. I do have a small humidifier that I run in the wintertime because when we turn the heat on, we have a vent over here that pushes out forced air, and this room tends to get a little drier. So to combat that, I do run that humidifier for a couple of hours in the day. But other than that, I think ambient humidity somewhere between at least, between 30 and 50% would probably be okay for this plant. Again, she is super easy to care for. She's not fussy. As long as you're watering her and taking care of her and giving her the right lighting conditions, I think anybody could potentially grow this plant. Now for me, what drew me to this were pictures that I had seen online. So you see the patio, each one of these, this is a leaf. The whole thing is a leaf. These are not individual leaves. The whole thing is a leaf, and these are considered leaflets. And what's cool about her, if you can see, like, she lost all of the juvenile leaves, but if you look at this one, you see how the leaf hasn't completely joined. As she gets older, or the leaves start to mature, you'll see that the leaves start to join. So like on this one, the leaflets are, I think this was her latest leaf. The leaflets are starting to form that circle. So basically they join in a circle somehow, and it becomes one big bushy thing. These leaflets, from what I understand, can get up to 2 inches long. So as she continues to grow and continues to close that gap in between, those leaves can get long. So I can only imagine that that would be such a pretty sight to see. This particular philodendron is self-heading. All that means is that it doesn't really need a mouse pole. She goes straight up. From what I've read, she can be a bushy plant, and that's what I'm seeing from mine, is that she doesn't really need a mouse pole or anything like that. She just grows straight up. And the new growth tends to come out the middle. So this is a new leaf that's she's trying to push out. And it takes about 2 weeks or so or maybe even a little longer, to see this entire leaf, develop. What else can I tell you about this plant? Propagation. So I have not propagated this plant, but I would assume that it's like any other philodendron. What I have noticed, and I'll tilt her a little bit so that you can see this, is that the internodal spacing on this plant is very tight. So you would propagate from a stem cutting, but you would have to get one of these nodes in here. So that means you'd have to be very precise in that cut. In my opinion, for this particular plant, I think it would be best to let it grow a little bit more, so that these the nodes are a little higher and you can be a little bit more precise with your cut. For me, I have no intentions of propagating this one, at least not yet. I'm just enjoying the beauty of her. I do really love the leaves. I'm a leaf girl. I always tell you this. The fact that I can see where she's, started here and she's gone and she's making these closures is really cool. So I say all that to say, if you're looking for a cool, unique type of philodendron, one, it's not a rare plant, because again, they're available online. It's just not a common plant, and you want something with a funky little look, this is a good choice. And on a scale from 1 to 10 for beginners, I would give this actually a 7. Just keep in mind, be patient, because they can be a little fussy until they acclimate to your environment. Make sure to give it bright and direct light, and don't water on a schedule. I say 7 to 10 days, but that's really dependent on what the inside, like she got watered this morning, really dependent on what that soil looks like. If it looks dry, I give her water. If not, I touch the soil to make sure. And if you don't like sticking your finger in the soil, there's always a chopstick method. Or you can always get a moisture meter to gauge if she needs water. But this is one to consider. This is one to take a closer look at. So I hope you enjoyed this quick little spotlight of the Goeldii. Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to mention. So I have been saying previously that I wanted to give away those mini monsteras. I've reached out to 4 people and I've heard back from 1. So at this point, if anybody is interested in one, please let me know in the comments below so I can go ahead and get that out to you. 1, I've never really shipped the plant. 2, I don't have any heat packs. 3, the weather is starting to get colder. So if I could get, a plant to you before the end of October, that would be great because I think it would still make it in one piece. But if you're not interested, I understand. I'll just keep growing them, and maybe further down the line, we'll give them away to someone else. So I've rambled on enough. Guys, thank you. He's shaking his head back there. Was I rambling? Y'all tell me if I was rambling. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this spotlight on the Goeldii. Make sure to subscribe, like, and comment. Talk to you real soon. Bye.